So, what's been catching my eye in the markets and should concern you and is worth your knowing? Let's get on with it. Number one, yes, we're in bear territory. I don't mean Russian bears. I mean the bear market, 20% down, the NASDAQ off its peak. Time to get in. I'm going to come to that in a second. US market valuation, well, 15.6 on a price earnings ratio. So you're paying 15 times in terms of $15 for every dollar of profit. And that, by historic levels, is not the most expensive. It's actually below average. So there is an argument there, can still go lower, but there is an argument that we might be undervalued. Nevertheless, some of the big boys and the hedge funds included and Berkshire Hathaway are holding a hell of a lot of cash. In other words, they're de-risking or they just can't find quality deals. So they're waiting on the sidelines. And there's no harm in that for another week, I don't think. Not all stocks are falling, of course. These are rising. I thought I would filter stocks which rose last year and are up so far this year as well. In other words, they could sustain growth in their share price during all of last year, where it was easy to, but also this year, where it's far more difficult. And then I filtered them according to my valuation, growth, and income rating. If you want to know more about that, have a look at my campaignfor1million.com. It looks at valuation of stocks. In other words, the profitability of a company and its share price. It looks at revenue or sales growth, dividend yields, cash flow it's generating, the amount of cash it's throwing up, by looking at the three main accounts all companies have in common: balance sheet, profit and loss account, and the cash flow statement. I've also looked at valuation metrics such as PEG, or price to earnings growth, and I want that below 1 ideally, but below 1.3 and I can live with. And I've looked for companies with a price earnings ratio below 30. Okay, what do we come up with? Well, those are the names. Doesn't mean they're instant buys, but I thought it's interesting to see there's quite a few of them. And they have several things in common. They'll either be energy companies, commodity companies, or other. Defense, for instance, comes up. Pharmaceuticals comes up as well. And that pretty much takes care of almost every single one of those various groups. Okay, but there you go. Have a look at that. Now look at this. What about Palantir? Is it time to get in? A few people have been asking. It's at a good support level. Its average is double this. So can it double up in maybe a year, maybe in 2 years? Maybe it takes 3 years for you to get 100% return. Given that it's in defense and cybersecurity, there might be a strategy in there for you, which is wait up to 3 years to get 100% return. Might happen in a year. That's purely a price action play that I'd be looking at. Higher risk. Of course, all investing is risky, so be aware. We're at Momentum and Microsoft. Is it time to buy? Well, Momentum's still down on this one, and the fundamentals remain outstanding. So what do you do when a company has outstanding fundamentals, but the momentum is still down? Well, you wait. If you're not in it, and if you're already in it, you may well exit. I think where those green arrows are is its trajectory, and then I might well look at buying even more and buying into the dip. All right. What happens after crises? Well, this is what tends to happen after crises. What happens immediately? What happens within 6 months? And what happens 1 year later? Right? You've got the key and it shows you there. Initially, 6 months later, 1 year later. Well, almost always 1 year later, everything's great. So crises are rather good. I know the conspiracy theorists are thinking, oh my God, the West engineered all of this in some kind of conspiracy with Putin to drive things down so they could bump them up again the subsequent year. But it's more to say, longer term, don't worry so much. S&P performance in previous drawdowns. How did it do in August 15, Jan 2018, October 2018, and now? Well, it's tended to, if you normalize all of them back to 100, it tends to eventually rebound back up. It won't necessarily recover very quickly, but it does tend to catch up and go back up. So again, the longer the time frame, the more likely it is to come back. Doesn't mean history will repeat itself, however. Hope you found this all very useful. If you would like to come and meet me at the House of Lords, 20th of April, there's the event. Let me know. It's Be the Change, Make a Difference. It's a Nation Voice, the newspaper that I write for, event in conjunction with the Royal Air Force, There'll be drinks, canapes, networking, and a panel discussion involving me on the 20th of April. You can see the agenda and itinerary there. Those are the details, and those are the security issues as well. Display photo ID, formal invitation at security. That's who you are, SVP. And I might well see you there. Okay, aside from that, how might things be? Well, this is the Dow. This is the Dow, and I'll leave you with this. At the moment, the momentum's falling off a fair bit. Almost, you could say, a bit oversold. Ready for some kind of a bounce up? Well, it reminds me of 2015, right? I have a photographic memory with these things, and I thought to myself, looking at this, it reminds me of 2015. And you may well get a bounce back up, and I've drawn it with a green line there to replicate what happened in 2015. Then it falls back again, then it rises again, and then it goes sideways for a bit. So when it rises, don't get carried away. It will probably fall back again, then go back again, and then probably go sideways for a bit, as opposed to an out-and-out crash where it goes to 2,500. Okay, it's more like 25,000. It's more likely to go up, down, and then sideways. More likely to replicate this position, which is basically it's buying time. It's decided not to crash. It's just buying time, and there's ample liquidity in the system to suggest that won't be a crash. But it can't just keep going up and up and up. Well, if you can't go down and you can't go up and up and up, what can you do? You go sideways. What does a sideways pattern look like? Well, there it is. Okay. So that's to give you some indication of how things may well, I think, play out. And I think that's the most probable scenario now. Thank you very much.